All right, let's talk Oregon Ducks here for a little bit. Look, they have absolutely dominated this offseason in terms of winning in the recruiting, winning in the transfer portal. This is a team that obviously they've been very good the past couple of years, that's continuing to ascend through the ranks on a national level. And this latest news is further proof of that. Let's go ahead and pull up this report, then we can talk about it more in detail on the other side, courtesy of 24/7 Sports. Oregon's 2025 recruiting class continues to charge up the national recruiting leaderboard. On Wednesday, the Ducks secured a pledge from four-star interior offensive lineman. I apologize in advance. Alai Kalanavalu. I'm just going to call him Alai. The commitment lifted the Ducks from fifth nationally up to fourth. It was only 2 weeks ago that the Ducks were outside of the top 25 in the 24/7 Sports team's rankings, which, by the way, considering this is official visit season, that speaks to Dan Lanning's sales job. Before the visits, they weren't so hot in the rankings. They have the visits, they rock it up. Credit to Dan Lanning and his staff. After a slew of recent verbal commitments, Oregon is now fourth nationally and within striking distance of Georgia for number three and even Alabama for number two. Oregon's class score is now 270.39. The Bulldogs sit at 281.43 and the Crimson Tide at 291.53. Ohio State occupies the top spot with a score of 309.94. All right, obviously, Dan Lanning and his staff have done a great job at Oregon, and this is further proof of that. Miles, I know you've got some thoughts on this, but first, Oregon fans, in the comment section below, we're talking offensive lineman. Who is your favorite Ducks offensive lineman of all time? There's literally like 50 really great superstars, including one in the NFL right now that's among the best at his position in the National Football League, but you can only pick one. Give us your favorite Oregon Ducks offensive lineman of all time and put them in the comment section below. But Miles, I'll throw it over to you now. What are your thoughts on all this latest news when it comes to Oregon and how they're winning in the recruiting game?
Yeah, Nick, Oregon has done fantastic. Because, like you said, once people come to Oregon for the official visit, Dan Lanning, who had arguably the best class, if not one of the best recruiting classes last year in Oregon history, he knows how to close players. And you look at it over the last couple of weeks, like we said, they started out just a few weeks ago outside of the top 25. Now they're at number four, and I think they easily could break into the top two or three, if not make it to number one. I don't know. Ohio State's pretty high up there with all the money they're throwing around, but I think Oregon is really going to be a top three program when all is said and done. But you look at what they've been able to do the last couple of weeks, and it's not just an abundance of guys. They've got some extremely high quality guys as well. Obviously, we have the offensive lineman here. I won't try to butcher his name. But then we got DeCarrion Moore, five-star consensus, probably best wide receiver in this class, commit to Oregon. We got Dorian Brew, an extremely talented four-star cornerback, commits to this class. We got Brandon Feeney, a top-tier four-star athlete, commit to this class in the last few weeks. We got Brom, a top-tier four-star tight end who committed to this class as well. The list goes on and on. There's about 4 or 5 more guys recently who have committed to this Oregon class. It is absolutely fantastic what Dan Lanning has been able to do. And you look at the rankings here, and I'll pull them up. You see Ohio State at the top with 309 points. You see Oregon here at number 4 with 270 cumulative points for everything. They're right in the mix with, like I said, Georgia and Alabama. Ohio State is kind of far ahead of everybody right now, but Oregon's within 10 points of Georgia, then 20, another 10 points of Alabama. And I think if they keep getting these type of high quality players, I think they're going to move up those boards here in the status of how good this class is going to be. I think what Dan Lanning has done here is nothing short of incredible, and I think Oregon should really be excited that they are just going to keep getting better and better if he keeps doing things like this.
And, they're doing it on a little bit of a discounted budget, too. That's what people are forgetting, and they're kind of missing when it comes to Oregon and Dan Lanning. Because obviously, in the NIL world, the collective world, there's so much money. We're talking tens of millions of dollars being thrown around to help bring in recruits and transfer guys. And Oregon and Dan Lanning are doing such a great job despite not being one of the top funders when it comes to NIL and collectives. So according to NIL-NCAA.com, here are the highest funded schools. I'm going to go down the list here. You're going to notice the theme here. Number 1, Texas. Next, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia, A&M, Michigan, Alabama, Florida, Clemson, Oklahoma, Penn State, Indiana, Michigan State, Virginia, Tennessee, Auburn, Arkansas, Kentucky, and then the Oregon Ducks show up right around 10 million bucks. That's literally less than half of the number one team, that's Texas, in terms of NIL funding. And the number one recruiting team in the country, Ohio State, is almost double what Oregon has in terms of NIL funding. So not only is Oregon doing just such a great job in recruiting in terms of beating a lot of top flight schools, they're doing it spending less money. That speaks to the sales job, the quality of staff, the recruiting pitch, the quality of player. Every single dynamic of this recruiting process, Dan Lanning is absolutely crushing. He's doing a phenomenal job. And as time goes on, I think we're going to start to see a lot more people. They're going to give this program a lot of much overdue recognition for the great job they've done up in Eugene, despite not being one of the top funded schools, despite being in the Pacific Northwest. It's a harder recruiting environment, honestly, than being in the Southeast. And despite all of those challenges, Dan Lanning and his staff continue to do an impressive job.